Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and we're going to start with a clip that I am sure will get all of the lefties in a spin. Actress Keira Knightley is now the MVP, in my view, for taking on the forever whinging trans brigade.
I saw you're voicing Professor Umbridge in the new Harry Potter audiobooks. I was wondering, are you aware that some fans are calling for a boycott, giving J.K. Rowling's ongoing campaign against trans people?
I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry. I think we're all living in a period of time right now where we're all going to have to figure out how to live together, aren't we? And we've all got very different opinions. So I hope that we can all find respect.
Bravo. And look, the trans blackmail is backfiring, isn't it? It's done. Jog on. Well done to Keira Knightley. Well done. Now, Rosie O'Donnell has unfortunately graced us all down under with her presence in the last week. I know, rest in peace, us, the sooner that she buggers off, the better. But guess what? Or guess who she's been talking about the entire time? I know you know.
That he is afraid of smart, informed, strong women. And, he thinks women are to be abused, to be grabbed by the pussy. As he said, I thought when that happened that would be it for him. I remember when Gary Hart had a girl sit on his lap, a grown woman, not a child. And that was the end of his candidacy. And here he is saying what he says and being who he is. And I think that strong women scare him and infuriate him. And I'm one of them.
Now, of course, in case it wasn't clear enough, she's talking about Donald Trump. Look, someone get this woman some help. Seriously, the woman is deranged. She's sad and just really plain stupid. Now to former President Barack Obama, because Donald Trump's actually also having a real TDS effect on him, it seems. Please, Barack, take some time out, mate.
I mean, what was unusual for me was obviously a lot of what I represented, a lot of what Michelle and I had tried to project, the values, our thinking about America. My successor seemed to represent the opposite.
Right.
Not seemed, did.
Yeah.
And so I think there was a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, some fear among a big chunk of the country.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I mean, he said his successor represented the opposite of what he and Michelle stood for. Well, he's not wrong. And thank goodness for it. Look how much Donald Trump has achieved. But seriously, Barack, give it up.
I've become increasingly concerned about the rising wave of authoritarianism sweeping the globe. We're seeing politicians target civil society, undermine freedom of the press, weaponize the justice system. And no one is being spared. Even countries that thought they were immune from wholesale assaults on democracy now understand we're all part of this struggle. That's an enormous challenge.
Yeah, because everything was just so peachy under the Obama reign. At least he knows he will always have one fan to keep cheering him on.
Donald Trump wants to screw up Obama's legacy. This is all about Donald Trump being the small, petty man that he is, and he doesn't want Obama to have that legacy.
Sunny always delivers, doesn't she? Right on cue when the Dems need her the most. Now to TDS-afflicted lefty actor Martin Sheen, who should probably actually just stick to his day job.
So the big guy in the White House, if he would take some personal advice, you've got to realize, sir, that you are the biggest nothing in the world. and sir, you stop there. You stop listening to all these people around you, these sycophants, who are encouraging you to be your non-human self. Get in touch with that humanity. Stop fussing with your hair. And don't worry about your tie. And stand up straight and speak clearly, not from your throat. Speak from your heart. And start being human. That's what you were made for, not golf.
Look, this guy's a diabolical clown. Trump is out there brokering peace. Can anyone name 10 of Martin Sheen's best movies? Waiting, please. No. Now over to the deranged and tiresome UK Labour Party, which is now boring us all with claims that the British flag makes people a wee bit queasy.
And then I see flags painted on roundabouts, and that is just a bit weird. And you know, because you've seen it online and I see it in my inbox, that this does make people feel uneasy. And they ask, what message are these flags supposed to be sending?
I mean, it's the rehearsed script, the walk, the hands. I mean, the left are they're tiresome, aren't they? It is quite draining. And unfortunately, it gets worse.
Now look, I'll take people at their words. People who say this is about national pride. I'm proud of my country too, and I'm proud of our flag. But I do understand why others feel that it's about excluding people.
He starts, now look, he says, look, if these loonies think that the national flag is so bad, the door's open. Off you go. Bye. And now to the dangerously dumb lefties who are still sooking over ice.
Why aren't we shooting back at them? Can anybody explain that to me? What, like, I don't own a firearm, but if I saw an ICE agent, it would brick right to their dome. So why are the armed citizens not shooting back at them? Just a question.
Well, good luck with that one. And now to this Liberal woman who, look, just have a look.
Even with DEI, people with disabilities, people of color, and women and female presenting LGBTQ have had to work hundreds of times harder than white men. White men are unqualified for any position of power because they never had to work for it in their lives. We need to get rid of the real DEI hires, the white men.
Joining me now is filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. Donald Trump has awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honour, to murdered Conservative activist Charlie Kirk on what would have been his 32nd birthday. At a ceremony at the White House, President Trump told the story about the time Charlie Kirk told him that he was going to marry his wife Erica. Have a listen.
I was with him before I met Erica, and he told me he was going to get married. He said, "You won't believe how beautiful she is." I said, well, then now that I meet her, he's right. But then he also said, and you know what? She's like the smartest person I know. See, they do go together on occasion. Not often. Not often. But on occasion they go together.
Charlie and Erica had such a beautiful love story. But how poignant is this posthumous award?
I mean, so poignant, so appropriate, so lovely. So glad he did it. And of course, so deserving. Yeah, look, Charlie Kirk deserves every bit of what he's getting posthumously, and of course what he got while he was alive. I mean, the man was a force of nature. And just, you know, look, he and I were not close friends, but we were certainly friendly, and we spent time together, and we worked together. And, you know, I remember the first time I met him, he was a teenager, 18, 19 years old, maybe 20. And you can tell, somebody introduced me to him, and he just started going. We didn't even know each other at the time. We never met each other. And he just kept going into this, you know, this dialogue of what he wanted to do, what he wanted to accomplish. And you could tell from the first moment that this guy was destined for huge things. And had he not been cut down by an assassin's bullet, the sky was the limit of what he could have accomplished. And even the first time I met him, he was so generous to me, and wanted to help me, even though he was there for doing things for himself. He's at that creating Turning Point. Yeah, I could not think of a more appropriate way to celebrate what would have been Charlie's birthday. So yeah, God bless Charlie Kirk, and God bless President Trump.
Look, I completely agree. I think you're spot on. He deserves every and all accolade that he gets, because he truly was a remarkable man. So I think this is just such an important accolade. Look, let's move on, Army, because Donald Trump has ripped into the ABC, refusing a reporter's question at a press conference. Have a look.
Your ABC fake news.
Brian, first of all, congratulations.
I don't take questions from ABC fake news. After what you did with Stephanopoulos to the Vice President of the United States, I don't take questions from ABC fake news. Brian, go ahead.
Now, look, for background, what happened was host of This Week, George Stephanopoulos, abruptly ended an interview with J.D. Vance at the weekend after the Vice President did not directly answer a question about bribery allegations against border czar Tom Homan. Army, look, good on Trump. The liberal media are an absolute disgrace.
There's ABC and the most of the legacy media is just so tired, right? I mean, they just don't get it. And look, Trump be Trumping, right? Trump put ABC in a timeout. It's what he does. What do you expect, right? That's just the way. It's what he does. And now I'll get to why I said most of the legacy media in a second. But just to address for a moment why he was upset, right? You referenced the interview with J.D. Vance and Stephanopoulos. Look, it's unbelievable. First of all, this is a vice president of the United States coming to an interview with you. Right? So you try to be, I would think, one will try to be extra careful about how you deal with the sitting vice president. But of course he wasn't. But he was mad because J.D. Vance didn't want to answer a difficult question. I mean, this is politician 101 when it comes to sitting down for an interview and not answering something you're being asked. Of course, he kind of evaded and dodged. It's kind of course, that's what you do when you're a politician and you're asked a question you don't want to answer. And you think he's done that with a single Democratic politician? Because they all do it, right? The answer is, of course, zero. He's never done that with a Democratic politician. They would only do that to a Republican politician. And the reason why I said most of the legacy media, because you now see something interesting happening with CBS. So David Ellison's Skydance, David Ellison is the son of the second richest man on earth, Larry Ellison, bought Paramount, and with Paramount came CBS. And he's done some really fascinating, interesting things, which I think are fabulous. First of all, an under the radar but extremely significant move is he brought on a guy named Keith Weinstein as the ombudsman for CBS. And that's a very important position because it deals with the even-handedness of the network. And if there are complaints about the network straying one way or another way, it goes to that position. Keith is an amazing guy. He's going to do an amazing job there. I know him well. And of course, electing Barry Weiss as the head of CBS News, the editor-in-chief of CBS News, is an unbelievable game changer for that network. It really, really is. And look, we'll see what happens with CBS News and their ratings. Hopefully other people will follow suit. I doubt it. This is obviously coming from David Ellison, from the top, from the owner, because all the staffers are grousing, complaining, and the media is, of course, attacking the choice. But it's wonderful, and maybe it pretends things are changing.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. I just think that they should have given the Vice President a chance, and they didn't. I thought it was a disgrace, so good on Donald Trump. Now, Army, I want to ask you about Donald Trump's Gaza peace deal. The President has vowed to disarm Hamas after the group was seen executing suspected collaborators in Gaza overnight in an attempt to regain control. But here was Trump earlier.
Mr. President, on Gaza, how long will it take Hamas to disarm, and can you guarantee that is going to happen?
Well, they're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games.
So, Army, Donald Trump has got the hostages freed. That's the first step. But how big of a challenge will it now be to actually fully disarm Hamas?
Yeah, so no shade to Maria Machado, the Venezuelan politician who has fought against Maduro and Chavez. I'm sure she's wonderful. She's great. But only one person should have won the Nobel Prize, and that's Donald Trump. Forget about the rest of the world. He has reshaped the Middle East. When Israel denuded Hezbollah, killed Hezbollah's leadership, Biden screeched and hollered, right? And attacked Israel for doing so. When Israel bombed Iran, what did Trump do? He joined in the fun. That's the contrast of these two leaders and dealing with the Middle East. And with the first president, President Biden, we had this war going on for 2 years with Gaza. And with the current president, Donald Trump, he has reshaped the Middle East, which is setting up the entire region for peace. Now, having said that, when it comes to Hamas and disarming them, I kind of feel like he's walking into the same trap that Netanyahu did when Netanyahu laid out as one of the goals was the elimination of Hamas. Well, the problem is it's not really an achievable goal. That's the problem, okay? And when you lay out one of your strategies, one of your goals as doing that, you're setting yourself for failure, which is what he did on the Hamas front. Hamas is still there. They haven't gone anywhere. Sure, they've killed leadership. Hamas is not just a terrorist organization, which it is, and the head of the government in Gaza, which it is. It's also an ideology. You can't disarm an ideology. And while they've made incredible inroads in killing people in Gaza who are Hamas, the problem is Hamas is much wider than Gaza. So when I was recently in the West Bank and I was talking to people in the West Bank, there wasn't a single person I came across who's under 40 who doesn't support Hamas, okay? Hamas has incredible traction in the West Bank as well. And there's a reason why there has not been an election in the West Bank for over 20 years, because they know the Greens, Hamas, would win that election going away. So look, disarming the entire terrorist organization like that is a difficult goal. I'm not sure it's frankly achievable. But if anybody could do it, I mean, I'm not gonna bet against President Trump.